Hello world and all of my friends and subscribers. So today is part one of my new series of painting your miniatures with regular acrylic paints. So today I'm going to be covering just my materials, and I'm also going to be showing you how I make my wet palette. Now, wet palette is a really good idea to use whenever you're painting miniatures because the small amount of paints can dry out pretty quickly. So yeah, I use a wet palette because the way you use acrylic paints, it's better to have them not dry out as quickly, and acrylics tend to dry out really fast. So yeah, so let's get to it. So here are the materials that I typically use when I'm painting my minis. So I'll quickly just go through them just so that you know what they are. They're nothing fancy or special. So, of course, my wash water, which has a drop of soap, soft soap in it, like the kind you use to wash your hands. And that's just to keep my brushes clean. Any metallic paint will fall to the bottom and keep everything nice and clean. And help my brushes stay conditioned, which keeps them nice and shapely and in a good point. So the next thing I have here is a matte medium, and that's you don't need it, but I did purchase it, so I like to use it. And then I've got a painting medium, which is just an acrylic painting medium, and this one was really cheap from just an art store, and I think it might be kind of glossy. The next one is, well, I'll skip over those two for now. The next one is a gloss varnish for varnishing, of course, and a matte varnish for just finishing projects off. These two, this one is an old perfume bottle that I have water in. That's just to moisten any paint that I'm using or anything like that. It just has a nice fine spray. And in this I actually have some alcohol, and I use that to make my washes and things. Or sometimes I use Listerine, and I'll explain that in a later video why I do that. And over here I've got my brushes. I've got a little eyedropper, which just makes getting water into my palette I use for mixing my washes and glazes a lot easier. And then I have this ceramic dish that I use for my palette, and I use it to make a wet palette out of, which I will show you in this video as well. And then down here I have the paints that I'm going to be using for this series, which are Reeves, and I previously have used paints that are more not easily obtained by other people around the globe. They're more like Australian and New Zealand brands, and Reeves is really easy to get hold of as far as I know in other countries, especially the US. So I decided to get the 18 artist colours from Reeves in the small tubes, and just to demonstrate that you can use them, and they'll be really easy for other people to purchase them and can paint along with me. So I've also got my metallic Reeves as well, which are fantastic. Okay, so next I'm going to show you how I set up my wet palette. So setting up a wet palette is pretty easy. So this is how I set up mine. All you need is a container that has a lip around it that'll keep your moisture contained. You need some absorbent material. You can either use kitchen roll like I am and place it in the bottom. Some people I've noticed use sponges that are cut to size of their container, which is pretty handy because then you can of course reuse those. I don't have any of those kind of sponges. And then you need some baking paper or cooking paper. I feel like this is not waxed, like this is just regular cooking paper. So I'll need to cut that to size. so I'll just grab some scissors. Okay, so I have 2 sheets here, and you don't really need 2 sheets. I just have too much. So I'm just going to use this to make 2 so that I have an extra one. Okay, so now I have that piece of paper to fit on top of my kitchen towel. And so all you need to do now is wet your kitchen towel. So you pour in enough water that it's completely saturated, which is the easiest way to do it. Is pour too much in so that there's a lot in there. And then, because it would have absorbed enough, you pour the excess out, and that's how wet it needs to be. So that's a pretty simple way of doing it. And then you just put your paper on top, and you put your paint on the paper, and then your paint won't dry out. I mean, you can even do this in a Tupperware container with a lid, and then your paint will keep for even longer without drying out. So the moisture will seep up through this paper quite slowly and into the paint and keep it nice and fresh for you. So that's how I make my wet palette. So I hope that was really helpful for you, and if you like this video, please click the like button. And if you want to see the next video coming up in my series, which is going to be how to prime miniatures with acrylic paint, then please remember to subscribe, and you'll be able to catch up with all my videos in this series. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, thanks. Bye. Before the head, I'm going to make his little collar, because